Welcome to Zoe Stories. Shocked by my change. They say secrets are heavy, but mine felt like silk, soft, shimmering, and somehow impossible to fold back into the box once I'd seen how it caught the light. My name is Noah. By day, I'm an accounts analyst at a mid-sized marketing firm, the kind of job where spreadsheets rule and people say things like circle back with the practiced cadence of a metronome. I wear crisp shirts, sensible shoes, and a barely noticeable wedding band-sized anxiety that lives in the back of my throat. People at work know me as precise, quiet, the guy who brings his lunch in a Tupperware. I like numbers because numbers don't judge and because they never ask why my hands tremble just a little when I button the cuffs. But there is another side to me that the numbers can't measure, the side that comes alive at night, under a soft lamp and in front of a full-length mirror. I'm a crossdresser by something that started as curiosity and quietly grew into necessity, not because someone forced me, but because at some point the person I saw in the mirror felt more honest when she wore lipstick. That need, call it expression, call it salvation, became a refuge I visited alone, where the world's rough edges smoothed into something I could breathe. Alexa knows me, or she knows parts of me. We met at a coworker's rooftop party 2 years ago. She laughed at my terrible karaoke voice and stayed to talk until the streetlights flicked off. She's not dramatic in the obvious way. She's steady, with a laugh that could anchor a storm. She's an art director. Bold fonts, bolder ideas, a wardrobe that seemed to be edited by a museum conservator. Everyone assumes we're the perfect match, her creativity, my steadiness. We've lived together for 9 months in a small but sunlit apartment near the river. Her presence is the rhythm that keeps my heart from skipping. Her keys on the hook are the sound I listen for when the evenings deepen. If I had to name my worst fear, it would be losing the safety I've built. Alexa's trust, the job's steadiness, the illusion of being whole in the way the world expects. My second fear is simpler and sharper, being seen when I don't want to be. Which is why my cross-dressing life has been compartmentalized with the care of an archivist. Clothes tucked in vacuum bags, wigs in satin-lined boxes, heels hidden beneath the bed like contraband. I told myself that as long as she never knew, the two worlds could live side by side. My cross-dressing began in small rituals. A borrowed dress for a basement drag night, the thrill of someone else's applause, the way makeup could redraw the planes of my face until I recognized a stranger and hugged her. That stranger, who I started to call Anna when I wanted to speak kindly to her, carried pieces of me I hadn't known I possessed. Anna could be tender and terrifying all at once. She forced me to feel things my weekday self kept carefully rationed. Tonight, the apartment smelled of rain and coffee grounds. Alexa was out on a late meeting. She texted around 7 that her client was running over. I had told myself 1,000 times I would only ever do this alone, when she slept, when the apartment held the hush of midnight. But there's a slippery logic when longings pile up. One night becomes 2, a craving becomes a plan. The silk dress I'd been saving for something like a declaration, pale blush, simple cut, lay like a promise on top of the wardrobe. I'd ironed it last week and then shoved it back, ashamed and loving at the same time. I unlocked the box containing Anna's essentials like a thief with reverence. The first thing I felt was the scent, a floral perfume I'd never used in daylight, but which somehow matched the way Anna smelled in my imagination. I cupped the wig in my hands, chestnut waves, cut to graze the collarbone. It was heavier than I expected, but comfortable in a way that made my fingers steady. Dressing was a ritual with its own internal logic. Stockings, the slow, intimate art of pulling silk up my calves. The dress slipped over, hugging unfamiliar curves and making me look at my body with kinder eyes. Makeup was the most honest part. Concealer to blur the tiredness, a little contour to sculpt the cheekbones I preferred on Anna, mascara that made my eyes look like maps people wanted to read. When I traced a neat line of lipstick across my lips, something inside me loosened. There was a tiny, ridiculous moment, the way a smile looked different when the face was newly finished, and I laughed at myself in the mirror. It wasn't all joy. I've learned to expect the shadow edges, the small panic that sits like a burr in my chest, the calculation of time in half hours, and the absolute terror if the key turns in the lock. When I stood fully dressed for the first time that night and looked at Anna in the mirror, I felt both whole and exposed. Anna had my soft laugh, my private tenderness, but she also carried a danger, the knowledge that if revealed in the wrong way, she could take everything with her. There are small tokens that keep me tethered to my weekday life. The manila folder with unpaid bills, the coffee mug with my company's logo on the counter, the laptop blinking with unfinished spreadsheets. They remind me I can be both things, but they also remind me how precarious that balance is. I kept my phone on silent and placed it face down on the table. No texts, no surprise calls. I set the living room lamp to a warm glow. The apartment suddenly looked like a photograph, a slice of domesticity that I'd curated to hide my performance in plain sight. Alexa's presence loomed like a question. She was the person whose casual observations could scaffold me or leave me dangling. Once, over pancakes, she'd said, "You always seem quieter when you've had a long day." I'd laughed it off, deflecting with jokes and changing the subject. The truth, that some of my quietuckness comes from carrying Anna in secret, was folded inside me like a letter I'd never mailed. I told myself, just tonight, 1 hour, a small, selfish indulgence. But indulgence and honesty are cousins that look similar until the moment of reckoning. In the corner of the living room, a pair of heels waited like sentries, slender, black, with a strap that would make my calves look ready for a runway. I sat, sliding them on, feeling the shift, the tilt of my body, the new cadence in my steps. With each click on the hardwood, my pulse climbed a few degrees. There's something dangerous about feeling right in a way you can't explain. The dress fit like an answer to a question I hadn't realized I was asking. I walked to the window and watched the city blur into a smear of lights. Outside, couples moved along the riverbank. Inside, I was rehearsing the part of my life I'd always kept backstage. And then, like a sky crossing from calm to storm, a thought that made my chest tighten. What if Alexa came home early? The tiny practical details that had kept my ritual secret turned into potential betrayals. The wig box under the bed. The heels by the couch. The faint scent of the perfume on my collar. For a sliver of a second, the apartment felt like a stage, and I a performer who had misread the schedule. I took a breath, steadying myself. This was the moment the story would hinge on, the private turning into the precarious. I smoothed my dress, checked the mirror again, and for the first time that night, saw not just Anna, but a man who had discovered an entirely new vocabulary for feeling alive. Outside, the rain increased its tempo against the glass. Somewhere down the hall a door closed, a muffled laugh floated by, and my phone, face down on the table, buzzed. I didn't look. I didn't want to know. I wanted one more minute in the soft light where Anna existed without consequence. But the sound of keys in the lock is not choosy about timing. It could belong to anyone. It could belong to Alexa. My hand hovered over the phone, my heart counting seconds like an accountant balancing a ledger. The apartment held its breath with me. The sound of the keys in the lock kept echoing inside my mind like a warning bell, replaying long after it actually stopped. Even when I realized that the sound was just my upstairs neighbor entering their apartment, not Alexa, the adrenaline didn't settle. Instead, it sharpened everything. The warmth of the room, the tightness of the dress around my waist, the subtle ache of the heels lifting my posture into something elegant, unfamiliar, yet deeply comforting. For a moment, I stood perfectly still, utterly still, like a deer frozen between danger and desire. Part of me wanted to rush back to the bedroom, tear off the makeup, change into sweatpants, erase every trace of Anna before even a shadow could recognize her. But another part, louder, bolder, whispered, "You've waited for this. Don't run." I moved toward the mirror again, my heart hammering against my ribs, but my steps were slow, almost reverent. The living room light cast a soft glow across my reflection. Anna looked real. Not like a costume or a fantasy, but someone who had been waiting patiently behind a door inside me, hoping I'd finally let her walk out into the open. My hand traced the neckline of the dress, smoothing an imaginary wrinkle. I felt the fabric move with me in a way that made my breath hitch. The wig brushed against my shoulders, making tiny sparks run down my spine. Her reflection, tilted her head slightly, studying me with a familiarity that felt like coming home. And then, as if to remind me that home wasn't mine alone, my phone buzzed again on the table. I flinched. My heels scraped the floor. The sound was small but sharp, a reminder of risk. Ignoring it would be cowardice. Checking it would be torture. But not knowing, that was worse. I crossed the room with deliberate, careful steps, each click of the heels a reminder of the new shape my body occupied. When I picked up the phone, my palms were sweating so much I almost dropped it. A single notification. Alexa, almost done. Might leave earlier than expected. My stomach flipped. My blood iced. My hands shook so hard the phone trembled. Earlier than expected. It felt like fate was grabbing me by the shoulders and shaking me, forcing me to understand that tonight wasn't going to be simple. I had maybe 30 minutes. Maybe less. Or maybe she'd walk through the door right now. I turned off the screen and pressed the phone face down again. My mind raced. Should I undress now? Should I change? Should I risk even one more minute? The answer should have been obvious. But my body refused to move. Instead, I drifted back toward the couch. Part fear, part desire. The transformation had only just begun. I hadn't even heard the sound of my own voice as Anna yet. I hadn't taken a single photo, hadn't walked fully through the apartment the way I always imagined I would. I wanted 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Dangerous. Foolish. Irresistible. I took a slow breath, trying to steady the storm inside me, and reached for the perfume bottle on the table. It was delicate, rose gold, with a soft floral scent that made everything feel more real. When I pressed the spritz, a gentle mist landed along my collarbone. The scent settled like a secret whispered against my skin. I closed my eyes, breathed it in, and for a second, the world felt perfect. Then another sound. This one much closer. A dull thump against the hallway wall. I froze, every muscle locking, breath evaporating. The sound repeated. And again. Footsteps. Someone walking past the door. Then stopping. Right outside my apartment. My mind spiraled. Alexa? No, she always speaks before unlocking. A neighbor? A delivery? Someone who got the wrong door? I tiptoed toward the peephole, trying desperately not to make a sound. The heels made it nearly impossible. Each step felt like thunder. I lifted them slightly as I walked, wobbling, trying to stay balanced. Peering through the peephole, I saw a man, holding a package, standing directly in front of my door. My throat tightened. Delivery guy. Must be for the neighbor. But then he lifted the package and knocked. 3 firm knocks. I swear my heart stopped. No. No, no, no. Not now. Not when I'm like this. My mind raced through possibilities. Ignore it? Speak with a disguised voice? Hide? Hope he just leaves? But then I saw it, the package label reflected faintly under the hallway light. To Alexa Green. Address. Our apartment. My stomach flipped violently. The delivery was ours. If I didn't open it, he might knock again. Or call Alexa. Or leave a note. Or talk to a neighbor. Every option was a disaster. He knocked again, louder this time. Hello? Package for Alexa. I closed my eyes, fighting panic. I couldn't let him see me. I couldn't let him hear me sounding unsure or feminine. I had to think. Fast. I tried to lower my voice, practicing silently. Too shaky. Yeah. Still strange. Leave it by the door. No, he'll need confirmation. Another knock. Impatient. And then the worst. I can't leave it outside. It requires someone to collect. My blood ran cold. My legs trembled. I backed away from the door, shaking hard, but my heels made a small clacking noise against the floor. He heard. Because he said, I know someone's inside. Could you please open? My breath caught. My world narrowed into a tunnel. This was it, the moment everything could fall apart. I swallowed, raised a trembling hand to my chest, feeling the fabric of the dress pulse with my heartbeat, and whispered to myself, "You wanted 5 minutes, now you're paying for them." Behind the door, the delivery man waited. Inside the apartment, I stood, half beauty, half terror, steps away from being exposed. And Alexa could arrive any minute. The trap had closed, and I was inside it. The delivery man's voice lingered outside the door, like a threat that refused to move. I could hear the faint shuffle of his shoes, the weight of the package shifting in his hands, and every tiny movement made the knot in my stomach twist tighter. My breathing was too loud, too sharp, too panicked. I pressed my back against the wall, feeling the cold surface through the thin fabric of the dress. My chest rose and fell rapidly, straining against the neckline as anxiety and adrenaline crashed over me in unpredictable waves. I needed to think, but all I could do was feel. The wig felt suddenly too warm, the makeup too heavy, the heels too tall. Everything I had wanted for weeks, maybe months, now felt like a trap I had willingly stepped into. A trap with lipstick on. Another knock boomed through the apartment. "Hello?
Miss?
Sir? Anyone?" The miss set my nerves on fire. I pressed a shaking hand over my mouth. The perfume I'd sprayed earlier mingled with my shallow breaths, floral, sweet, exposing. It made the moment feel surreal and terrifying at once. I had seconds to choose. Option 1. Open the door. Risk being seen like this. Painted lips, long wig, tight dress, trembling in heels. Option 2. Stay silent. Let him think no one is home. But he already heard me. Option 3. Speak. Somehow conjure a voice that wasn't mine. None of them were safe. I pushed myself off the wall and paced toward the bedroom. Slow, unsteady steps. The dress tightened around my thighs, each movement a reminder that I wasn't just wearing clothes. I was wearing a secret. My secret. I made it halfway before another sound sliced through the tension. A phone ringing. But not mine. His. On the other side of the door. "Hi, yeah. I'm at the apartment now." Yes, I knocked. "Someone is inside." I heard. I froze mid-step. Who was he talking to? No, I don't think it's Alexa. The voice sounded softer. The floor tilted beneath me. Had I made a sound earlier? Had I gasped too loudly? Did I whisper too harshly? He kept talking. "I'll try once more. If they don't open, should I leave a note?" I backed away from the door again, almost tripping on the heels. My calves trembled from balancing on them too long, but I didn't dare take them off. Barefoot, I'd make even more noise. I grabbed the doorframe and steadied myself as the delivery man hung up. Then, a final set of knocks. Hard. Intentional. Determined. I couldn't run anymore. I swallowed hard and forced my voice through the tight fear in my throat. "Could you, just leave it outside?" Too high. Too breathy. Too obviously not my normal voice. There was a pause. A long one. My heart pounded so loud I thought he'd hear it. Then he answered, tone suspicious, but trying to stay polite. "It needs a signature, ma'am."
Ma'am.
The word hit me like a spark, confusing, thrilling, terrifying. My stomach twisted. My breath caught. He thought I was a woman, or at least someone who sounded like one. My knees almost gave out. But the danger wasn't gone. "I just need one signature," he repeated. "I can slide the paper inside, and you can sign without opening them." And then everything changed. Because down the hallway, the elevator dinged. A soft, cruel sound. 3 floors below. Moving upward. 1 floor. 2 floors. 3. Someone was arriving. And my brain did the math instantly. Alexa lives on the 5th floor. This is the sound it makes when she comes home. I staggered back, panic ricocheting through me. If the elevator opened, if she saw the delivery guy, if she walked toward our door, it was over. Everything. My secret.
Anna. Us.
The delivery man must have heard it too. His tone changed suddenly, urgency slipping in. "Ma'am, should I wait or—"
No.
My voice cracked. Just push the paper inside. Please." Another pause. He exhaled sharply.
All right.
I heard rustling, then a faint swish as a thin sheet of paper slipped through the bottom gap of the door. I snatched it instantly, stepping back so fast I nearly lost balance on the heels. The elevator doors opened down the hall. Footsteps. Fast, confident, familiar. Alexa. I crouched, wobbling, clutching the pen like a lifeline. My signature came out messy, jagged, barely readable. I shoved the paper back under the door, hands shaking violently. Here, I whispered. He pulled it, checked it, and then, thank you, ma'am. Have a good evening. He walked away. His steps faded down the hallway, but Alexa's kept coming. My vision blurred. My pulse roared. My whole body trembled as I backed away from the door and stumbled into the living room. The room was warm, too warm. The lights suddenly too bright. Everything I had put on, the dress, the heels, the wig, seemed louder than any noise in the apartment. Like each item screamed its existence. The mirror reflected me back, blush smudged, lip gloss catching the light. A wild-haired, terrified girl trembling in borrowed elegance. I didn't even look like myself anymore. But there was no time to think, because the footsteps stopped, right outside the door. The handle turned, slowly, silently, deliberately. My breath hitched, my knees locked, my fingers dug into the nearest chair. Alexa was home.
And I
Was still Anna. A soft click echoed through the apartment. The door unlocked, and I realized that the real danger was just beginning. The sound of the deadbolt sliding open felt like the world splitting in half.
click.
Everything inside me froze, my breath, my heartbeat, my thoughts. Even the air in the apartment felt suspended, waiting, watching. The door eased open an inch. A sliver of hallway light cut across the floor, slicing through the dim living room and landing right at my feet. My heart pounded so hard I felt it echo in my throat. The heels suddenly felt taller. The dress felt tighter. The wig felt heavier. And I felt too exposed. Hello. Alexa's voice floated in, soft, tired, unaware of the storm brewing behind the walls. I could hear her take a few slow steps inside, then pause. Probably kicking off her shoes the way she always did after a long day. Why today? Why now? Why when I'm like this? I backed away from the entrance with small, trembling steps, desperately trying to stay quiet. But the heels clicked, lightly, barely, but enough. I clapped a hand over my mouth as the panic rose. Babe. Alexa called again. Her voice was closer now. Too close. I ducked behind the kitchen counter, heart ricocheting inside my chest. The mirror across the room reflected part of my shoulder, the shimmer of the dress glinting under the lights. I crouched lower instantly. The silence between her words and my heartbeat stretched painfully long. Finally, she spoke again. Why is it so warm in here? Her tone had changed, just barely, but I heard it. Suspicion. Then came the sound that made every nerve in my body combust. Her footsteps moved toward the living room. Slow, measured, alert. She wasn't just walking. She was searching. Maybe she sensed something strange. Maybe she heard more than I thought. Maybe she saw a shadow. Or maybe she just felt that someone was home, but not the way she expected. I swallowed, but even that felt loud. I pressed myself against the cabinet, trying to make myself smaller. But then, my phone buzzed on the table.
Loud.
Sharp. Impossible to ignore. Alexa stopped walking. A long silence stretched across the apartment. Then, in a voice with a new edge, Babe, are you home? My body tensed so hard my muscles cramped. Sweat pooled under the wig. My mascara felt like it was melting under the heat of fear. I took one slow, shaky breath, trying to steady myself. If she saw me like this, I didn't know what would break first. Her trust, my courage, or everything we had built together. Her footsteps drew closer. She was heading toward the living room table where my phone lay. I peeked slightly around the counter, just enough to see her shadow stretch across the floor. She stopped right in front of the table, picked up my phone. The screen lit up. revealing the display that betrayed me completely. A notification that shouldn't have been there, that I should have deleted earlier, that now sat glowing like a spotlight on my worst fear. Makeup tutorial, saved favorites playlist. Beginner feminine transformation routine. My stomach dropped. My mouth went dry. My entire body went cold. Alexa exhaled slowly. Not confused. Not irritated. But something deeper. Sharper. Suspicious. She placed the phone back down and said, "Why were you watching this?" I jerked back behind the counter instinctively, too shocked to breathe properly. She had no idea I was only a few steps away, dressed in a tight floral dress, wearing soft curls that brushed my cheeks, balanced on trembling heels, face flushed with fear and blush. She didn't know the truth was inches from being discovered. Her voice softened, but in a dangerous, delicate way. "Are you hiding from me?" I closed my eyes, teeth clenched, the pressure in my chest all-consuming. I didn't trust myself to make a sound. I didn't trust my voice, my breathing, anything. Then she began walking again. Toward the kitchen.
Toward me.
Panic hit me like a shockwave. I slipped back on the tiles, the heel skidding for a terrifying second, but managed to grab the counter's edge before I fell. The sound wasn't loud, but it wasn't silent either. She stopped walking. "Is someone here?" My lungs tightened. My head spun. This couldn't be happening. Not like this. She moved closer.
Her voice was calmer now.
Almost gentle. "Babe, if you're home, just say something. Please." I wanted to answer. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to be honest. But fear had glued my body to the floor. What would she think if she saw me? Would she laugh? Pity me? Hate me? Leave me? Questions spiraled until I felt dizzy. Suddenly, a soft creaking sound echoed, the floorboard by the counter. She was close. Too close. I closed my eyes, bracing for the moment she'd look over the counter and everything would come crashing down. Her hand touched the counter's edge. A slow inhale. I felt her shadow cover me. And then, her phone rang. The sound cut through the tension so violently I flinched. She stepped back instantly, pulling the phone from her pocket. "Hey," she said, her voice forced bright. "Yeah, I'm home. Just got in." She walked away a few steps, toward the hallway. I could breathe again barely. My hands were trembling so badly I had to grip the edge of the cabinet to keep from collapsing entirely. She continued talking. "No, he's not here yet. I think he might have gone out." My chest squeezed, painfully. She thought I wasn't home. She thought the noises were something else. For now, I was invisible, but not safe. Never safe. As she walked toward the bedroom still on the phone, I heard her mutter, "I'll check if anything's off. Something feels weird." My throat closed. My secret world, the one I only dared to enter when alone, was now a haunted house of risks, each room waiting to expose me. And Alexa was starting to see the cracks. This wasn't just suspense anymore. This was a countdown. A breath away from discovery. A heartbeat away from disaster. A single wrong movement, and Anna would no longer be a secret. I stood in front of Alexa's closet again. Only this time, I wasn't shaking from fear. I was shaking from anticipation. The blue dress I had worn earlier lay on the bed, neatly folded, like it was watching me, judging me, calling me back. But today, I wasn't reaching for that one. Not after what I had just experienced in the office bathroom. Not after almost getting caught. Not after realizing that I had something inside me I couldn't keep buried. I swallowed. Tonight I was going further. My heart hammered as I dug deeper into Alexa's wardrobe. There, behind her coats, behind her party dresses, hung something I had seen only once, something she had bought last month but never worn. A silky blush pink slip dress, thin straps, clinging fabric, a hem that looked like it would sway with every breath. The kind of dress that makes a person feel naked while still fully dressed. I pulled it out slowly. The fabric slid through my fingers like water. It was soft, dangerous, forbidden. Exactly the kind of thing I had no business touching. My breath caught. Should I? Even saying the thought quietly felt like crossing a line. But something in me nudged forward.
No.
Not something.
Someone. The girl inside me.
The one I kept ignoring. The one waking up, stretching, whispering. Just try it just once more. I held the dress against myself in the mirror. And my stomach fluttered.
It looked right.
Terrifyingly right. I wasn't supposed to feel this way. I wasn't supposed to want this. But God, why did it make me feel alive? I stripped down, my hands trembling with excitement and nerves. When I pulled the slip dress over my head, the soft fabric whispered as it slid down my body, hugging everything, clinging like it already knew me. It fell perfectly against my chest, smoothing across my stomach, hugging my waist. I exhaled shakily. Oh, God. The thin straps rested on my shoulders like delicate fingers. The neckline dipped lower than anything I had ever worn. Not even Alexa wore dresses this daring. I turned to the mirror and froze. The person looking back at me wasn't some confused guy sneaking into his girlfriend's closet. She was someone else. Someone softer. Someone beautiful. Someone desperate to come out. My knees weakened. I don't recognize myself, I whispered. But I did. A part of me recognized her more than my real reflection. I took a shaky step back, then forward, then turned sideways. The fabric glided with me. The sensation was unreal, dangerous, addicting. And then a horrifying thought struck me. Alexa had seen this dress before. She was going to know if it had been worn. A jolt of panic shot through me. Should I stop? Should I take it off right now? But I didn't move. I didn't want to stop. I wasn't ready. Instead, I reached for the drawer where she kept her makeup. My hands hesitated above the palettes, lipsticks, brushes. This part was always the hardest. Not because I didn't want it, but because makeup felt like crossing a line I could never pretend I didn't cross. A dress could be explained.
Curiosity.
Laundry accident. Trying to understand her style. But makeup? That wasn't accidental. It was intentional. Deliberate. A confession. My hand hovered over her foundation bottle. My breathing grew shallow. Just a little, I whispered. But we both knew. There was no such thing as just a little tonight. I did my base first, foundation smoothed with a sponge, blending until my skin tone evened out. Then concealer. Powder. My face became softer with every step. I could feel myself slipping away, or slipping into someone else. Bronzer carved gentle shadows. A peach blush softened my cheeks. Highlighter shimmered with every turn of my head. Then came the eyes. Soft brown in the crease. Shimmer on the center. A darker shade to deepen the outer corners. My eyes changed shape. Became larger. Warmer. More expressive. I added mascara carefully. Every stroke making my lashes longer, fuller. When I leaned back and looked at the mirror again, my breath caught. My face wasn't mine. Or maybe this was who I was hiding. I reached for Alexa's nude lipstick, the one she used for her everyday looks. The color deepened the softness of my features instantly. The girl in the mirror smiled nervously. And then, I heard it. A sound that punched my heart out of rhythm. Keys at the door. Not in the hallway. Not downstairs. Not faint.
Right.
Outside. My door. She was home. Early. My mind shattered. No, no, no. She wasn't supposed to be home yet. She said she'd be late, she said. I froze in front of the mirror, trembling violently. I looked beautiful. Too beautiful. Too obvious. Too feminine. Too exposed. I scrambled for a plan. Any plan. Hide? Impossible. I looked down at the pink slip dress. There was no way to hide this. No sweater could cover it. No jeans could fix this. I looked like Alexa's dolled-up twin sister. My heart pounded in my throat. The door handle turned. I panicked. Should I run to the bathroom? Wipe off the makeup? Rip off the dress? But it was too late. The door clicked open. Footsteps. Her footsteps.
Slow. Confused.
Babe? Why is it so quiet? You home? I felt faint. Sweat gathered on my hands, threatening to smudge my makeup. I tried to breathe. I couldn't. What would she think? What would she say? Would she scream?
Laugh.
Hate me?
Leave.
The footsteps grew closer. She was heading toward the bedroom. I whispered, "Please don't come in," but Alexa never listened at the right time. Her hand touched the bedroom door. I stood frozen, a stranger in her clothes, in her makeup, in her life, completely transformed. The doorknob turned, and the door began to open. She opened the door, and I couldn't hide. The door pushed open only a few inches at first, just enough for Alexa to peek inside. Her voice was soft, casual, unsuspecting. "Babe, are you?" Then she stopped. And the silence that followed, it was the kind of silence that screams. Her hand froze on the doorknob. Her eyes widened, confusion first, then disbelief, then something else I couldn't read. I stood there completely still, the pink slip dress hugging every inch of my body, the makeup glowing under the soft bedroom light, my hair brushed and parted gently, my lips glossy and feminine. I must have looked like a ghost of someone she knew. Or worse, someone she didn't. For a second, just a second, neither of us breathed. Then she whispered, barely audible, "What is this?" My throat locked. My heart hammered so violently that it hurt. All the blood drained from my face. I was exposed, uncovered, turned inside out. There was no hiding this. No excuse strong enough to cover the truth dripping from my lashes and painted lips. I tried to speak. But my voice cracked the moment sound escaped me. "Alexa, I can explain." Her eyes flicked up and down my body, slow, stunned, processing every detail. The dress. Her voice trembled. "My dress." I nodded helplessly. "And makeup? Are you wearing my makeup?" My knees almost buckled. I couldn't bring myself to answer. She stepped one foot into the room, still holding the doorknob like she needed support just to stay standing. Her expression wasn't anger. It wasn't disgust. It wasn't even hurt. It was confusion. Deep, searching confusion. Like she was trying to piece together a puzzle she didn't know existed. "Why?" she whispered. That one word hit harder than shouting ever could.
Why?
Because I didn't know who I was? Because I had been hiding this for years? Because I felt more like myself in her clothes than my own? Because I didn't know how to tell her without losing her? But my lips wouldn't move. My voice wouldn't form the truth. She took another slow step forward. Her gaze lingered on my face, my eyeliner, my soft eyeshadow, my delicate blush. Her voice grew shakier. "You even did makeup?" I swallowed hard. "I never wanted you to find out like this." She blinked slowly, like she was holding back a wave of emotions. "Find out what?" A chill ran through me. This was the moment I was never prepared for. My entire body felt like it would collapse. I tried to speak, but my voice came out small, childish, terrified. I like this.
I don't know why.
I feel different when I dress like this. I've been trying to stop. I really have. But today My words stumbled over themselves. The truth poured out, messy and desperate. I don't know what's wrong with me. I lowered my head, expecting anger, disappointment, disgust. Instead, I heard her breath catch. Something between a gasp and a quiet whimper. And then, soft footsteps. She walked closer. My heart pounded so loudly, I didn't hear anything else until she whispered, "Look at me." I forced my eyes up slowly. Her expression wasn't what I expected. It wasn't cold. It wasn't hateful. She looked hurt, but also curious. And something else, something conflicted. "You've been hiding this from me." I nodded weakly. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I was scared," I choked. "I thought you'd hate me, or think I'm disgusting, or leave." "Stop." Her voice was firm but not cruel. She took a deep breath. "I'm not leaving." My chest tightened, hope burning too suddenly to control. "But," she continued softly, "I need to understand this. Because right now, I don't." Her honesty cut through me. And then something happened that stunned me completely. She walked around me slowly, like she was trying to take in the whole picture.
The dress.
The makeup, my trembling hands, my bare legs, my posture. She studied everything. And then she stopped in front of me again. You look… She hesitated, searching for the right word. Different. Not good. Not bad.
Just honest.
Different. I nodded silently. That's the point, I whispered. For the first time since she walked in, her face softened. But then, her brows narrowed slightly. And why my new slip dress? Why that one? Of everything in my closet, that was the one you picked. I felt heat rush into my cheeks. I don't know, it just felt right. Her eyes held mine a few seconds longer than I could handle. And then she noticed something on the vanity. Her lipstick. The mascara wand still open. Powder scattered around. Eyeshadow palette smudged. You really went all out. Her tone was unreadable. Part surprised. Part overwhelmed. Part something deeper. She walked to the vanity, touching items lightly with her fingertips. How long have you been doing this? My chest tightened. A while. She closed her eyes briefly, absorbing that answer. When she turned back to me, her voice trembled. Not with anger, but with the awareness that everything she thought she knew was changing. I don't know how to feel yet, she swallowed. But I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to shame you. I nearly collapsed with relief. But then she added something that froze my blood. We're not done talking. Her tone was calm, too calm. The kind of calm that says a storm is coming. She reached toward the door, pausing only for a moment. Her eyes softened, barely. Almost like she wasn't sure if she should stay or run from the truth she had just walked in on. We'll continue this after I get my head straight. And before I could say anything else, she stepped out of the room, closed the door gently, and left me standing there, in her dress, in her makeup, in my fear, in my truth, with no idea what she was thinking or what would come next. The storm outside was nothing compared to the one between us. The moment Alexa closed the bedroom door behind her, the silence slammed into me. Not the peaceful kind, the terrifying kind, the kind that feels alive, breathing, watching, waiting to swallow you whole. I stared at the door like it might burst open again, expecting her to scream, demand answers, break down something. But nothing happened. No footsteps. No angry muttering. No tears. No thrown objects. Just silence. And somehow, that was worse than any explosion. I staggered toward the mirror, my knees weak, barely recognizing the trembling girl staring back at me. My lipstick was still glossy. My hair still neat. My dress still hugging my figure perfectly. But my face looked haunted. As if half of me was terrified I had destroyed everything, and the other half was terrified I didn't regret it. I sank onto the edge of the bed, heart hammering hard enough to shake my bones. How long had she known something was off? How many hints had I accidentally given? Was this the beginning of the end, or the beginning of something else entirely? Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time had no meaning. Finally, I heard the faint sound of footsteps outside the door.
Slow.
Heavy. Pacing. She was thinking.
Processing.
Breaking apart and rebuilding a new version of her reality. I took a shaky breath. Alexa? My voice cracked. Can we talk? Silence. Then her voice filtered through the door, soft, but strained. Just give me a minute. A minute? I felt like I'd been holding my breath for a lifetime. She continued pacing. Back and forth. Back and forth. Every step felt like a countdown to something inevitable. And then, the pacing stopped. The handle turned. My entire body tensed. The door opened slowly, revealing Alexa standing there, expression unreadable. Her eyes were red, but she hadn't cried heavily, just enough to show she was shaken. Her arms were crossed, not in anger, but in self-protection. Her jaw was clenched like she was bracing for impact. She stepped inside, closed the door gently behind her, and then stood there,
Studying me.
searching me, almost like she wasn't sure if I was still the same person. Okay, she said quietly. Talk. I swallowed. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why hide it from me? Her voice cracked slightly. Why let me walk into this blind? I looked down at my hands, shaky, feminine, painted. I was scared. She exhaled sharply. I know you were scared.
I could see that.
But you should have trusted me. I didn't want you to think I was disgusting. Her eyes softened, painfully. Disgusting? You really think I'd ever call you that? Tears welled in my eyes before I could stop them. I didn't know what you'd think.
I didn't know what this meant.
I didn't even understand it myself. Then why didn't you try to understand it with me? Her voice trembled. You shut me out. Completely. I covered my face with my hands, sobbing quietly. I thought I would lose you. Alexis stood there for a moment, watching me with an expression that broke my heart. Anger, sadness, guilt, confusion, all tangled together. Finally, she sat beside me. Not close, not touching, just near enough that I could feel her presence. Look at me. I forced myself to lift my head. Her eyes met mine. You didn't lose me, she said softly. But you scared me. My breath hitched. What? What do you mean? She looked away for a moment, searching for the right words. When I opened that door and saw you, I wasn't angry. I was shocked. I didn't recognize you for a second. It felt like a stranger was in my house wearing my clothes. Every word sliced right through me. And then when I realized it was you, she rubbed her forehead. I didn't know what that meant for us.
Or what that meant about you.
Or about everything we've built.
I swallowed a sob.
I'm still me. I promise. She looked at me sharply. Are you? The question hit like a punch. I thought I knew everything about you, she whispered. And then I walk in and find this whole world you never share with me. A world you kept secret. From me. Her voice cracked. That hurt. Tears slipped down my cheeks. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She didn't answer. Instead, she looked at me again, really looked.
At the dress.
At the makeup. At the fear in my eyes. And then she said the one thing I never prepared for. Do you like being like this? I froze. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because admitting it felt like stepping off a cliff. I wiped my eyes.
Yes.
I do. The confession hung in the air like smoke. She inhaled slowly. And how long have you felt this way? Since before we met. Her breath hitched. She stood abruptly, turning away from me, pacing the edge of the room. So all this time, you were hiding this from me? Every day? Every night? I was scared. You keep saying that, she said quietly, but fear doesn't make secrets disappear. She stopped pacing, turned slowly, then asked the question that shattered me. If I hadn't come home early today, would you have ever told me? My heart felt like it cracked. I didn't answer. I couldn't. And my silence told her more than any words could. She swallowed hard. That's what hurts the most. I stood up instinctively. Alexa, wait, please. She held up a hand.
No.
Don't touch me. My stomach dropped. Her voice was steady, but trembling. We're not breaking up. A small breath. Not yet. My knees almost gave out. But we're not okay either. A silence deeper than anything before filled the room. Then she stepped closer, so close I could feel her breath on my cheek. Tomorrow, she whispered, we're going to talk about what this means.
For you. For me.
For us. I nodded desperately. And tonight, she hesitated. I need space. My heart shattered. But before I go, she said quietly, eyes flicking to my dress, I need to know one more thing. She looked into my soul. Are you done hiding? Or am I going to find out more surprises later? My breath caught. My lips trembled. Because the truth was more complicated than either of us realized. Secrets spill and tensions ignite. I sank back onto the edge of the bed, my hands gripping the fabric of the pink slip dress like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. Her question, are you done hiding? Echoed in my skull, reverberating in every nerve. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to promise that every secret, every stolen hour in her closet, every whisper of mascara against my lashes was over. But the truth was, I couldn't.
Not yet.
I don't know, I whispered, my voice barely audible over the storm raging inside me. Maybe not. Her eyes widened. Shock, disappointment, and something else flickered in them. Fear, maybe? The fear of losing control of the world she thought she knew. You don't know, she said, almost incredulous. Her voice trembled, betraying her calm facade. After everything, after today, you still don't know if I'm going to find out more? I shook my head. My knees were weak. My hands shook. The pink dress clung to me tighter than ever, a beautiful prison that exposed more than I was ready to show. I can't explain it all at once, I admitted. It's complicated, it's me. And I didn't mean for you to find out like this. She inhaled sharply, pacing the room in short, sharp steps. Every tap of her heels on the floor sounded like a countdown in my ears. You could have told me, she said finally, stopping in front of me. Her gaze burned into mine. You could have trusted me. And instead this happens. You're standing here in my dress, my makeup, my space, and I have no idea what's real anymore. I swallowed hard, staring at the floor. I was scared, Alexa. Scared you'd leave me, scared you'd hate me, scared I'd be wrong. She ran her fingers through her hair, pulling back from her face as if trying to contain her emotions. Wrong? Wrong? Who decides what's wrong? And what if I like this about you? What if I like seeing this side of you? The words hit me like a wave. Relief? Fear?
Confusion?
All at once. You'll like it? My voice cracked. She hesitated. I don't know. Maybe. But I need to know more before I can decide anything. I need to understand. And right now, all I see is Anna, not the person I thought I knew. I flinched at her use of the name. The name I had almost whispered to myself in the mirror. The name that represented this other life. This other self. You don't hate me? I asked softly, trembling. Her gaze softened for the briefest second, enough to give me hope. Not yet. But you've made it complicated. This isn't just about a dress or makeup. This is about trust. About honesty. About being able to share your life with me. I nodded, tears welling in my eyes. I never meant to hurt you. I know you didn't, she said quietly. But you did, just by hiding it. The room was heavy with unspoken words. The storm outside had intensified, rain hammering against the windows, lightning flashing across the sky like a cinematic warning. But inside, the tension between us was fiercer than any thunder. Then came the soft sound that made me nearly jump out of my skin. A knock at the door. Not the storm. Not the wind. A knock. Both of us froze. Who? Alexa whispered. I didn't answer. My heart nearly stopped. My legs trembled, the pink slip dress fluttering slightly as I shifted. Another knock. Louder this time. Babe. The voice was familiar, casual, mocking even. It was him. The neighbor. The one who had always been suspicious of me. The one who had eyed my late nights with a mix of curiosity and judgment. Alexa tensed, moving closer to me instinctively. Stay here, she whispered, her voice firm now. I wanted to argue. I wanted to run, to hide, to melt into the carpet and disappear. But I couldn't, because I knew what he wanted. He wanted a glimpse. He wanted to know. He wanted to see Anna, or at least what I had created. Alexa stepped toward the door, gripping the handle. I could see the storm in her eyes now, not just the external one, but the emotional hurricane. The door opened, and he stepped inside. The moment his eyes landed on me, the room froze. He blinked.
Twice.
Wow, he said finally. His voice was low, incredulous. I didn't expect this. I felt every inch of my body shrink. My legs shook violently. My hands trembled. My makeup felt like a spotlight. Alexa stepped in front of me, protective, furious, but also unsure. You've been hiding something, he said, voice sharp. Something unusual. I could feel the panic rise in me like a tidal wave. Why did he have to be here now? I I stammered. You're not who I thought you were, he said slowly, eyes scanning me like I was a puzzle he was trying to solve. I could feel Alexa's presence behind me, tense, ready to shield me, ready to confront him. I don't know what to say, I whispered. It's complicated. He smirked. Yeah, I can see that. The storm outside roared, thunder cracking, rain pounding the windows. The tension inside, the storm between us, was even louder. I didn't know what would happen next. Would Alexa finally see the truth? Would he expose me? Would everything I had worked so hard to keep secret collapse in an instant? And in that heartbeat, I realized nothing would ever be the same again. The unexpected witness and the shattering truth. The neighbor's gaze never left me, slow, deliberate, almost predatory. My knees trembled, the pink slip dress clinging like a second skin that betrayed me. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. All my rehearsed excuses, all my secret explanations, they vanished like mist under the heat of exposure. Alexa stepped closer, her body shielding me as if her presence alone could erase the danger. Her hand rested lightly on my shoulder, not just support, but a subtle warning. Stay calm. Don't give him more than he can handle. He smirked, that infuriating smirk that made my skin crawl. I've got to say, I never expected this from you. His eyes darted to the makeup, to the dress, to the careful curves I had tried so hard to hide. Honestly, it's shocking. I swallowed. Every nerve in my body screamed to vanish. Please don't. But he ignored me, stepping closer. The air felt electric, charged with tension. The storm outside pounded against the windows, but it was nothing compared to the storm in the room, the storm of judgment, exposure, and fear. Alexa's voice cut through like a blade. That's enough. Leave. He raised his eyebrows, clearly amused. Or what? You'll tell me it's none of my business? It is none of your business. Alexa's voice was firm, unwavering. Her protective barrier around me was palpable. You don't get to intrude into someone else's life like this. For a moment, he seemed taken aback. And that was all the moment I needed. My legs carried me backward, closer to the bedroom door, desperate for any escape. The slip dress brushed against my thighs as I moved, my heart hammering in my chest. You're hiding everything, aren't you? He said, taking another slow step. I mean this? All of this? And you thought no one would notice? I could barely breathe. My lips trembled. It's not like that. Please, you don't understand. He leaned closer, smirking. I understand perfectly. You're scared. Scared of being judged. Scared of what people would think if they knew. Alexa stiffened. Stop it. I could feel her anger radiating toward him, but beneath it, I sensed something else. Confusion, fear, and a strange flicker of understanding. The neighbor laughed softly, a low, knowing sound. You think this is just a phase, don't you? Or maybe a joke. But it's not. It's real. And it's fascinating. His words hit me harder than any insult ever could. Fascinating.
Real.
True. And that terrified me. Alexa's hand squeezed my shoulder. Enough.
Now.
He finally took a step back, hands raised slightly, not in surrender, but in mock innocence. All right. I see the look in your eyes. You're protective.
Fine. But the truth is out now.
Everyone can see it. And let me tell you, it's not going to stay hidden forever. The words were like a hammer to my chest. No, I whispered. Alexa turned sharply to me. Ignore him. Focus on me. I looked up, tears brimming, mascara threatening to run. Her eyes met mine, steady, fierce, unwavering. She wasn't just a shield. She was the anchor I needed. But even as I clung to her gaze, I knew the neighbor's words weren't wrong. Secrets have a way of breaking free. And mine had just been cracked wide open. He chuckled softly, stepping back toward the door. Think about it. Think about what this means for you. I'm just the first witness. The door clicked shut behind him. Silence. The storm outside continued to rage, but inside, the room felt hollow, fragile. I sank to the floor, pulling my knees to my chest. My breath came in shaky gasps. The pink slip dress felt like it was suffocating me. My makeup, my hair, my entire secret life had been exposed. Alexa knelt beside me, her hand gentle on my shoulder. "It's going to be okay," she said softly. "But you have to start being honest with me. No more hiding." I looked up, tears spilling freely now. "I'm scared, Alexa. I don't know if I can stop, or if I even want to." She studied me, her thumb brushing across my cheek, wiping away a stray tear. "Then we'll figure it out. Together. But hiding will only make it worse." Her words wrapped around me, comforting but also heavy with the weight of truth. The secret I had carried alone for so long had now erupted into the open. And there was no going back. "Promise me," I whispered, voice trembling. "Promise me you won't leave." She paused, her eyes locking with mine. "I can't promise that. But I can promise that I'll try to understand. I'll try to see you, all of you." Her words were both balm and challenge, acceptance and demand, all at once. I nodded, clinging to her, feeling the pink slip dress sticking to my skin, feeling the vulnerability, the fear, the thrill all at once. The storm outside finally seemed to subside. The rain still fell, but the thunder had quieted. The room, however, was far from calm. The tension had only shifted, moving from external threats to the heart of our fragile trust. For the first time, I realized that this moment, terrifying, exposing, raw, was also a turning point. The truth had shattered the walls I had built around myself. And now everything depended on what came next. Would Alexa accept me, fully and completely? Would I find the courage to live as my true self, without hiding? Or would the fear, the shame, and the outside world destroy what we had built? The answers weren't coming yet. All I knew was one thing. I was no longer hiding. Not from her. Not from anyone. And that was terrifying. Near exposure and the breaking point. The neighbor's departure left the room feeling hollow, but the tension lingered like smoke in the air. Every sound, the creak of the floor, the rustle of the dress against my legs, the distant thunder, felt amplified, like the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for the next catastrophe. Alexis stayed close, sitting beside me on the floor, her presence a fragile tether. But I could see it in her eyes. Uncertainty, confusion, and a flicker of fear. Fear not of me, but of the truth that had just been laid bare. "I don't know how we fix this," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I don't even know if it can be fixed." She studied me, the tension in her jaw, the way her fingers fidgeted with the hem of my dress. "Fixing it isn't about undoing what's happened. It's about understanding it, understanding you." Her words should have been comforting, but they only reminded me of the precariousness of my situation. I was still dressed in her clothes, painted in her makeup, exposed in every sense of the word. A sudden knock at the window made both of us jump. Rain splattered against the glass. The storm had returned, a violent pulse shaking the house. My heart nearly stopped. "Who?" Alexa started, but I was already frozen, staring at the window. A shadow passed across the glass. Slow, deliberate, watching. I sank lower to the floor, pulling the dress tighter around me. My mind raced. Another neighbor? A thief? No, it had to be him. He had returned. The idea made my stomach churn. Alexa grabbed my hand, her grip firm and grounding. "Stay calm. Don't move." We waited, breath held, as the shadow lingered. Every second stretched unbearably. Then it moved away. We exhaled simultaneously, relief mixing with lingering terror. But the incident had left a mark, a realization that my secret was fragile, vulnerable, and perilously close to exposure. I looked down at the pink slip dress. It felt like a costume, a mask, a symbol of everything I had hidden for so long. And yet, it also felt like me. A part of myself I had never dared to reveal. "I can't keep hiding like this," I whispered. I need to be honest with you. With everyone." Alexa squeezed my hand. "Then start with me. That's enough for now. We'll face the rest later." Her words were kind, but they carried an unspoken challenge. Could I really live without fear? Could I really embrace the side of myself without shame? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed sharply. I froze, dread flooding through me. A message from him. Interesting little show. Think I'll be watching a bit closer from now on. My stomach dropped. The words weren't just teasing. They were a warning. A threat. Alexa saw my face pale. What is it? I hesitated, then showed her the screen. Her eyes widened. He knows. I shook my head. Not everything, but enough. The implication was clear. My secret life was under scrutiny. And no matter how carefully I had hidden it, someone else knew now. We sat in silence, the rain hammering against the windows, the storm outside echoing the turmoil inside. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. Finally, Alexa spoke, voice low but determined. We need a plan. You can't stay like this forever. You need to decide who you are and how you want to show it. I nodded weakly. The truth was terrifying. The exposure, the judgment, the fear of losing her, it was almost too much to bear. But amidst the fear, a flicker of exhilaration remained. The thrill of being seen, truly seen in my full truth, it was intoxicating. I stood, my legs trembling, the pink slip dress clinging as I moved. I don't know if I can do this, I admitted. But I don't want to hide anymore. Alexa reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Then we'll figure it out. Together. No more secrets. But you need to promise me honesty. Every step. I swallowed, my throat tight. I promise. Her eyes softened, but the tension hadn't left. The storm outside raged on, a reflection of the chaos still swirling in my heart. And then another sound. A faint, almost imperceptible creak. I froze, recognizing it immediately. The closet. Somehow, in all the chaos, I had left it slightly ajar. The potential for discovery loomed. Another neighbor? A passerby? Or someone else entirely? My heart raced faster than ever. Alexa noticed my fear. What is it? The closet, it's open. Someone could see. She nodded grimly. Then let's close it. Carefully. We moved in silence, each step deliberate, measured. I shut the closet door, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the tense air. The immediate danger was gone. But the reality remained. My secret was fragile, and my life was on the verge of change. I sank back to the floor, exhausted, trembling. The pink slip dress felt heavy now, like a symbol of both vulnerability and power. Alexa knelt beside me, her hand brushing mine. You're safe for now, but we need to face what comes next. Together. I nodded, tears threatening to spill. The storm outside mirrored the one inside me. Fear, excitement, vulnerability, desire, all colliding in a chaotic whirlwind. And in that moment, I realized the truth. Nothing would ever be the same again. Not my life. Not my relationship. Not my identity. The real challenge was just beginning. The rain outside had slowed to a drizzle, but the storm inside my chest had not. My heart pounded as I sat on the floor, still in the pink slip dress, my hands trembling. Every nerve in my body screamed with tension. The events of the evening, the neighbor's intrusion, Alexa's raw confrontation, the lingering threat, had left me raw, exposed, and vulnerable. Alexa knelt beside me, her hand brushing mine lightly, a small anchor in the chaos. We can't keep running from this, she said softly, her eyes searching mine. You need to be honest, not just with me, but with yourself. I swallowed hard. I am honest with myself. I'm scared. Scared of how the world will see me. Scared of losing you. Scared of everything. She reached up, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Her touch was gentle, grounding, and yet her eyes held a storm of their own. Fear, uncertainty, and a fierce protectiveness. Then show me who you are.
Completely. Right now.
Don't hide anything. My breath caught. The words were both terrifying and liberating. Could I really do it? Could I let her see all of me, the side I had hidden for so long? The side that came alive in dresses and makeup, in heels and delicate touches. The side that felt like me? I nodded slowly. Okay, I'll try. Alexa stood, stepping back to give me space. Her eyes never left mine, unwavering, challenging me, waiting. I stood, my legs trembling as I adjusted the pink slip dress. Every movement reminded me of the vulnerability I had embraced. I looked at her, taking a deep breath, and let myself be seen. This is me, I whispered, my voice trembling. Not just like this, but all of this. Every part of me. The side I hide, the side I'm afraid to show it's real. And it's who I am. Her expression softened, a mixture of awe, curiosity, and lingering concern. You really are brave, she said quietly. To show me this. To risk everything. I swallowed, the tears I had been holding back, threatening to spill. I didn't want to hide from you anymore. I can't hide anymore. For a moment, silence hung between us, heavy, electric. The weight of my confession, the intensity of the storm outside, and the lingering threat of discovery made every second feel eternal. Then she stepped closer, her hand brushing mine again. You're incredible, she whispered. But you have to promise me one thing. No more secrets. No more hiding. I promise, I said, my voice shaking. No more hiding. A faint sound at the door made both of us freeze. Footsteps. Deliberate. Slow. The neighbor. Or worse, someone else who had somehow learned of my secret. I glanced at Alexa, fear flashing in my eyes. He's back. She grabbed my hand, her grip firm and steady. We face this together, she said, determination cutting through the fear. Whatever happens, we face it together. The doorknob rattled. My stomach dropped. My legs felt like lead. The door opened, and he stood there, smirking, eyes glinting with mischief and curiosity. Well, he said, voice low and teasing. I didn't expect to find this tonight. Alexa stepped in front of me, protective and fierce. You're not welcome here, she said firmly. He chuckled. I didn't come to hurt anyone. I just wanted to see for myself. And wow, I'm impressed. Every word felt like fire against my exposed skin. My secret life, my vulnerability, everything I had hidden, was now fully visible, not just to Alexa, but to someone else entirely. I looked at Alexa, fear and desperation in my eyes. I can't face this. She squeezed my hand. Yes, you can. You're stronger than you think. The neighbor took a step closer. You don't have to be ashamed. In fact, it's kind of amazing. Bold.
Brave.
Beautiful. I froze. His words, they were unexpected. They didn't shame me. They didn't mock. They recognized me, fully, unflinchingly. Alexa's eyes widened slightly, processing his reaction. Then she looked at me, her expression softening.
See?
You're not alone in this. Not really. I felt a mix of relief and panic. Relief that someone else could see me and not recoil. Panic because my world had shifted and there was no going back. The neighbor finally turned, giving a small nod. I'll leave you two to whatever this is. But remember, secrets have a way of coming out. And when they do, embrace them, or they'll destroy you. He stepped out, closing the door behind him. The sound echoed, final and heavy. Silence filled the room again. I sank to the floor, exhausted, trembling, my heart racing. Alexa knelt beside me, pulling me close. It's going to be okay, she whispered. We'll figure this out. Together. I rested my head on her shoulder, tears streaming freely now. The pink slip dress felt like armor and vulnerability at the same time. I had exposed myself, my fears, my desires, my identity, and survived. But the night wasn't over. Not yet. The storm outside had calmed, but the storm in my heart still raged. Fear, excitement, vulnerability, love, it all collided in a whirlwind that left me breathless. And as I clung to Alexa, I realized one terrifying truth. My secret was out. I had shown the world, or at least the people around me, who I really was. and there was no turning back. Tomorrow would bring challenges, questions, judgments, perhaps even rejection. But tonight I had faced the storm. And somehow in the chaos, I had found strength. I had found myself. And I had found her. The night ended with an uneasy peace, the kind that precedes something monumental. A cliffhanger hung in the air. Would our relationship survive this revelation? Would the neighbor spread what he had seen? Would the world accept the truth I had finally dared to show? No one knew yet. But one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. The room was quiet now. The storm outside had faded to a gentle drizzle, but inside, the tension lingered, thick as fog. My legs ached from sitting on the floor in the pink slip dress, my hands trembling slightly as I wiped tears from my cheeks. Alexis sat beside me, her arm around my shoulders, a lifeline in the storm of emotions that had engulfed us. Yet even in her comforting presence, I felt exposed, vulnerable, and painfully aware of how fragile everything had become. "You okay?" she whispered, her voice soft but steady. I nodded slowly, though the truth was far more complicated. I wasn't okay. I was exhilarated, terrified, and consumed by fear that my secret, my identity, and the world I had so carefully hidden could unravel at any moment. "I think I'm okay," I murmured, my voice barely audible.
For now.
"But I don't know what tomorrow will bring." She squeezed my hand, her eyes filled with a mixture of affection and concern. "We'll handle tomorrow when it comes. Tonight, just breathe. You've been through so much." I exhaled shakily, trying to absorb her words, but the memory of the neighbor's visit lingered like a shadow over every thought. The way he had looked at me, the smirk on his face, the words he had chosen, it all replayed in my mind, making my heart race. "He knows," I whispered, voice trembling. "And I don't know if it's just him, or if others might find out too. What if everyone knows soon?" Alexa's grip tightened on my hand. "Then we face it together. No more hiding, remember? Whatever comes, we face it as a team." Her words offered some comfort, but the reality of exposure was undeniable. My carefully curated secret life, the part of me that thrived in dresses, makeup, and heels, was no longer confined to the shadows. It was out, and once out, it couldn't be taken back. I stood slowly, the pink slip dress brushing against my legs, and moved to the mirror. The reflection staring back at me was both familiar and alien. I saw Anna, my true self, bold, feminine, and unashamed, but I also saw the vulnerability, the fear, and the uncertainty etched across my face. Alexa approached and stood behind me, her hands resting gently on my shoulders. "You're beautiful," she said softly. "Not just the dress or the makeup, you. All of you. And don't let anyone, not even yourself, tell you otherwise." A shiver ran down my spine. Her acceptance was like a beacon, yet I couldn't shake the fear that our fragile peace could shatter at any moment. The neighbor's warning echoed in my mind. Secrets have a way of coming out. And when they do, embrace them, or they'll destroy you. I turned to her, panic and hope warring in my chest. What if I can't handle it? What if the world rejects me? What if you will leave me? She looked into my eyes, her expression unwavering. "Then we face that too, together. But I'm not going anywhere. Not now, not ever." Her words were a lifeline, but just as I began to feel some measure of security, the phone buzzed sharply from the nightstand. I froze. Alexa glanced at it. "Who is it?" I shook my head, heart pounding. I don't know, but I have a bad feeling." I picked it up with trembling hands. The screen displayed a single message. "Impressive. But you're not alone in being watched. Someone else knows now. Are you ready for what's coming?" My blood ran cold. Alexa's eyes widened. "Someone else?
Who?"
"I don't know," I admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "But I think it's serious." The room felt suddenly smaller, suffocating. Every shadow seemed to move, every sound outside the window magnified. The neighbor's visit, the exposure, the storm, and now this message. It was all converging, threatening to engulf me. I sank back to the floor, pulling my knees to my chest, the pink slip dress sticking to my skin. Alexa knelt beside me again, her hands brushing mine. "We'll figure it out," she said firmly. "But tonight we rest. Tomorrow, we face the unknown." I nodded, tears streaming freely. My mind raced with possibilities. Who knew? How much did they know? And what would happen when the truth reached them? The rain outside tapped against the window in a steady rhythm, a haunting reminder that storms, both literal and emotional, could return at any moment. I looked at Alexa, seeing her determination, her loyalty, her fierce protection. She was my anchor, my confidant, and perhaps the only person who could navigate the chaos with me. But the truth remained. My secret life, my identity, had been exposed to the wrong eyes. The neighbor's visit and the mysterious message were just the beginning. Someone else was watching, someone else was aware, and the consequences were unknown. I shivered, the pink slip dress feeling heavier than ever, a symbol of both my liberation and my vulnerability. Alexa's voice pulled me from my thoughts. "We'll face it together. Whatever happens, we're not hiding anymore. We're not running." I nodded, but deep down, I knew the real storm was just beginning. And as the rain continued to fall outside, the question lingered in the air, heavy and unrelenting. Who else knows? What will they do when they find out? And can I survive the consequences of showing the world who I really am? The answers were uncertain. The night was long, and my life, my secret, my identity, hung on the edge of revelation, teetering between fear and freedom. Tomorrow would decide everything.